into to put things into context, particularly for Tom. Oh, there's Liam. Okay, just getting started, Liam. For Tom, this group is largely called the supporter group, and it's a group that held liaison meetings with the club on a regular basis. So all supporters groups were represented. We're a little bit short now of two. Disabled supporters no longer represented, and Proud Shrimpers never respond to any invites, so they're not currently in attendance. It's not an exclusive club. If there's a group of people who think they should belong, then they'd be welcome. And in fact, SOS were not part of the supporters group and are invited to this meeting, and Richard is here representing them tonight because Scott couldn't make it tonight. So that just puts it into context. However, the format's of course changed a bit because of the pandemic and the inability to actually meet. And we're still really finding our way, I think it'd be fair to say. Ron was very keen to get communication going, as were the fans, and this format's worked quite well. It hasn't really morphed into exactly what Ron suggested, which was a surgery. No, that's not a problem, and I think these meetings still have value, but be interested to know your thoughts on that. The four areas I really had, which I think are worthy of discussion, from Ron's point of view, I think an update last meeting, desperately keen not to look back, as we said last time, so let's not do that. A quick update on the stadium development, and in particular, I've got a letter, as I'm sure many of you have, about a rework development, and save me going through 700 pages. It'd be good to know what changed that the council have alerted me about, because I can't see any great difference. We spoke about Stan's involvement, and I suppose it'd be fair to say that his exit from the scene was fairly similar to his entrance, and it'd be quite interesting to know your thoughts on that. Then I had a really introduction to Tom and from Tom. He told me yesterday he's still on the North Bank as a lad. I'm sure there's a few of us here like that. And it'd be good to know really what he's found in the first few days and what his plans are, etc., for the future as far as he can see at the moment. Very specifically, things like season tickets, kit, Meet the Blues Day, the refund strategy. I don't know if this is true, but I am told we are the only club from League Two last season that hasn't announced the refund strategy. I don't know if it's true, but I have been told that. So that would be interesting to hear your comments on. And I know there's been some discussions on tickets yesterday, and Scott sent me a text as well about it. So I know some movement there. And then again, I've received a few questions in from people. So if we've got time, I'd like to hit them if they don't come up anyway. So if everyone's happy with that, no dissent. Let's go for Ron really on. Let's try and give you 10 minutes, Ron, to give us an update, so we can try and get you out by 7, because there'll be plenty of questions, I'm sure.
Yeah, I see Chris has now joined us. I know he's started with his camera, but he looks to be in negative, doesn't he? as long as that doesn't spill over into...
You always tell me I'm negative, Ron.
Well, I know, it's why you're looking like that, but... update, well, I'm going to, at some stage, hand to Tom to tell everyone a little bit about him, to background, and also his aspirations for the future and what he'll be doing, because I see a lot of the detail fall into him from here on in. I've been dragged into minutiae sometimes when I haven't really had the opportunity to study the detail, and therefore taking time out to do that is consuming, and sometimes you might miss a trick. I spend enough time doing it. Hopefully I haven't missed many tricks, but Tom will give his view on life, although he's only been here a couple of 3 days, but he's done quite a bit of research before he joined us, so I think he's well placed. You asked about the stadium. That was a procedural letter that you've received, because we've had to reconsult. It comes under, because we did an environmental statement, because of the size of the scheme. under Regulation 25, it means we have to reconsult for 30 days before it can go to committee.
Okay.
And we are still targeting the 23rd of June committee date. That hasn't been made a public agreed date in the council's diary because we're dealing with the conditions almost all day, every day at the moment. So there's a lot of calls going on, but all parties are aiming for that date, and we expect and hope to achieve it.
Thanks.
That letter allows people to proffer any views they have, but really it's for the statutory authorities to come back to us, and most of them have, and there's been no negativity, so it's all looking good.
Excellent. Thank you.
Tom, why don't you take over from here, then I can interject beyond and see where it leads us.
Okay. So what I'll do, I'll just say a few words about my career to this point, and then I'll say what I've found so far and what the plans are for the future. So I qualified as a lawyer in 2006 in Essex and Basildon. I then worked in Chelmsford before going up to London, where I was a partner in 2 different law firms in London, running commercial teams and running the London office. I then worked for Gillingham Football Club as their external counsel. We won.
Your microphone's not that clear, Tom. Everyone else having problems hearing that?
Yeah, I'm really struggling to hear him. I just about made out Gillingham, unfortunately.
Right. I'll come a bit closer. There's a new laptop.
That's better.
Yeah, that's better.
So I was external counsel solicitor for Gillingham Football Club. We won a big case, and Paul Scally asked me to join Gillingham, which I did as chief exec, and I was there for 2 and a bit years. And then I've come across to join Southend. I have been a fan for as long as I can remember. We used to get the train up from Burnham and Crouch, go down the seafront, and play on the arcades, get our McDonald's, and then we'd go into the North Bank and watch the game. Probably the games which stick out, well, certainly I remember, is the return of Barry Fry, Peterborough, when we beat them.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, but is there anything else you can do with your microphone, because it sounds like you're underwater?
Right, it might be. So this is a new laptop. I think what I will do, Ron.
Now it's good.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, perhaps I'll just keep still. Yeah. So been a supporter for a long time, and joined the club at the beginning of the week. So I've met everybody now. And I've started doing the commercial audit, so I'm leaving no stone unturned, looking at every aspect of the business to work out what we can be doing better, if there's any fat which we can get rid of, and just refining processes and so on. So that whole process is probably going to take me, I'm estimating between 60 and 90 days to do the full audit. It's going to be a situation, task, action and results process. So the situation, where are we at the moment? Tasks, what do we need to do to improve the results? And then we'll have some actions, and then that will produce results. So I think within 60 to 90 days, you'll start seeing some differences. We want to improve the customer journey, we want to improve commercial revenues, and we need to just a sprinkling of corporate to make things a bit more, I know professional might not be the correct word, but at least we want to have some policies and procedures in place, and for everybody to be doing everything in a similar fashion. So yes, so far so good. I've had a meeting today with Reece on the commercial side, and we've started talking about commercial targets and new sponsors which we can introduce. I've spent a lot of time with Patrick understanding the numbers, and I've also spent quite a lot of time with Ricky discussing the player side of the business, which he's obviously leading on, and it's it's been good.
Tom, I think the first task is to improve your IT. So
I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to forward this to my other laptop, and then because that should be better.
When you lean forward, we can hear you much better.
Okay.
Can I just ask a question about your Gillingham exit? Because on the Gillingham website, reported you're still working for them, or you would be part-time for a while. Is that the case?
I'm not part-time for Gillingham. So that's I think what they said is that I would continue to do their legal work, which is something that we discussed, and it's something which I'm helping to facilitate. I don't want Gillingham to feel. Let me just change this across to the other system. I don't want them to feel left in the lurch, etc. So that's what that was a reference to.
Okay.
But I'm not undertaking work for Gillingham Football Club.
Okay, thank you.
Actually, whilst you're getting wired up, Paul, you mentioned Stan Collymore. Well, the principal contact there was Tom, so I think that he can also comment on the relationship and the meetings we had with Stan. And what led to his, I say departure, but he didn't join us. So we had some positive discussions, but then they became negative.
So I had in mind contacting Ron once I'd exited Gillingham Football Club, and I managed to get his number, and actually had a text message drafted on my phone. Then I got a message via LinkedIn from Stan, and that led to a Zoom call, which was really positive, which led to a meeting at Ron's house with Stan, which again was really positive. So Stan was, I think, the first person who called me when the announcement came out that I got the job, and he's been a good ally, and he sort of opened the door. But it was always my intention to reach out to Ron.
Tom, are you logging in as Rebecca now?
Oh, that might be my
Okay.
The weekend name.
Yeah, you've got to get James first, have you?
Okay. Try now, Tom.
I'm going to just close this one down.
Get rid of the other one. Yeah.
Forever known as Rebecca.
Okay, is that better?
It is.
Yes.
It is, but if you're wearing a skirt, I'm very worried.
So that was the story of Stan, and I mean, Stan's, as I said, has been a great ally and has been very supportive, and we hit it off, and he's a good guy, and but it was always my intention to reach out to Ron, and I've still got the text message drafted on my phone, which I never got round to.
You can send it if you wish.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Perhaps I should.
So I think that's, for what we heard, a bit of a potted history, but in short, you were at Gillingham for 2.5 years, so your experience in football is quite good. It's great that you're a South United supporter for a very long time, and therefore I guess your passion for the club will equal everybody else on this forum.
Yeah, 100%.
Good news.
100%. We need to get back in the league.
I'm largely going to leave Tom alone. I arranged a staff meeting when he came on Tuesday early, and then after the introduction, I left him with all the internal staff for an hour with over coffee just to get to know him, and now he's sort of meeting people on an individual basis and getting them familiar with the setup and how he can improve things. He said a sprinkling of corporate. I get that, and I'm happy for him to reshape or mould some of the departments if he thinks they're not working in efficiently with each other. I think they are. We've got some really good people at Southend, and I think it's just a case of them pulling together. Sometimes companies need a go-to person, and I confess that I've probably been on occasions not as available, particularly through lockdown. When I was in the office all the time, I was often the first in and last to leave, so people could come and see me and just ring the internal phone. But it's been different during this period of 18 months. So I think that now that things have opened up and we've combined it with Tom being on the premises, it'll be good for everybody. They can go to him. He's a very, I would say, affable and open individual. So I think that's going to work very well for the staff. He actually met Phil Brown and the Craig and Ricky before he joined, and they were very welcoming too. And I think that nucleus of management that we now have, of 3 of them, is very good. We are, as you know, we've been advertising for a first team coach, and that's been refined. So that 4th person could very likely be a former player, because there's 2 or 3 in the frame for it. So I think
One odd name there, Ron, I thought.
What was that? Who was it?
Oh,
Who?
well, guess.
I don't know.
Simon. Isn't that was an odd name to me? I thought that was very odd. Bearing in mind some comments on
Oh, but that came from the Echo, didn't it?
really?
Yeah, it didn't come from us.
Chrissy's here.
What was that? Sorry, what am I getting blamed for?
You mentioned Simon Fox might be one of our coaches.
Well, the point, Chris, was that his exit wasn't probably the, there was some words exchanged on both sides, in my opinion, from what I can gather. And to see his name back in the frame surprised me.
I think he was always quite close to Phil Brown, wasn't he? So I think they had quite a good relationship. So that's where it stemmed from. So I think they had a conversation, but I don't think it was anything particularly serious as such. I think they just have quite a good working relationship. So I think the possibility was discussed, but I don't think it's gone any really further than that. And I know he's not one of the leading contenders for the...
Oh, okay, there you go. Okay.
And I don't know of any words exchanged between Simon and me. I always got a word with Simon. He was always the mouthpiece for the team. So when he wanted to go to Australia, he wanted to go to Australia for financial reasons.
I think there was some suggestions that there was a problem in the dressing room, and he got the blame for it. It was my opinion. I don't know him, I've not spoken to him, but I've heard that from a number of sources. Could just be rubbish, but that's
Yeah, I've not heard that. But if there's any well, these rumours.
There was a couple of nods there when I said it, so I'm probably not the only one that heard it. But I mean, it might not be true. But
no, I haven't heard that. But next time we meet, perhaps Tom, you could look into that and just give the. I don't know who those words were with, but I think Simon left on good terms, and well, he certainly did with the club. But internally, I don't know.
okay.
So
when can we expect an announcement on that, Ron?
I suppose within a few days.
Okay.
I don't know. I haven't spoken to Ricky today. I spoke to him several times yesterday, but I haven't spoken to him today. So I don't know where he is. But you can probably hazard a guess who the 2 principal candidates are. And I would think we'll probably make a decision by, if not tomorrow, maybe Monday, Tuesday, maybe over the weekend. It won't be long because it was just a matter of terms. There's also levels of coaching skills that they have that we've been weighing up, and characteristics. But we'll get there shortly. And I think we're done quite well in terms of recruitment so far, but that's ongoing.
What about other signings? We've heard some noise and anything you can share?
Yeah, well, there are a couple of signings that we actually have made, or we're close to making, according to the Echo. Sometimes they cannot be announced if they're ongoing negotiations because of commitments of the existing clubs. So that's a position with some people, but I think we've done very well. And what I like about this team, which I didn't have last year, is that apart from they've known each other, they know each other, like each other, and getting on really well. So I think going forward, because I don't want to look backward, it feels good.
You kind of said that last year, though, Ron. A great team, working hard, all working together with long hours, all that sort of stuff. So
yeah,
and I'd expect you to say it as well.
Yeah, it's true though, isn't it? I mean, if I was saying it's a poor team, don't get on, they're not working hard enough, then
Yeah, exactly.
yeah, we wouldn't have the conversation. But
No.
I do think that this team, well, they're all hard-working people. If you remember, Craig was in the frame for the manager's job when I employed Mark. So
Yeah.
he took to assistant manager with Phil like a duck to water, because he worked under Phil at Hull, knows him very well, respects him. They all get on well, and they're all strong characters, which I think bodes well for the future. And Ricky is too. So Ricky has been doing the quasi director of football role since Mark arrived, but I never gave him the title because I didn't want to belittle Mark during that period. Ricky understood that, and therefore we've now given that authority, and he and Phil have a great relationship, as with Craig. So it does feel that they're gelling very, very well. And recognising there's some financial constraints, more so this year because of where we are, but they're working within it, and I will continue to do my best to support them.
Okay, so I've done all the questions. Can we maybe have some questions for Ron and Tom from other people? I've got plenty others, so I'm happy to...
Rebecca.
Yeah.
I'm going to see if I can change that. It's
No, don't worry now.
It's nice to have a nickname early on in the job, isn't it, Rebecca?
Yeah, I tell you what, Leo, that might stick forever now, doesn't it?
There's no might about it.
You need to buy him a plaque for his desk. That's all you get.
Or a shirt with it on his back.
In the effort tomorrow.
I mean, I'm happy to carry on with all the subject matter and questions I've got, but I'd like other people to.
Why don't you, Paul? Because I think things arise when someone's
Okay.
speaking, other things come to the fore.
Okay, but let's go for season tickets then. Where are we with season tickets?
So we've
There's two, okay? There's next season and there's last season. So I don't know how you want to deal with that.
well, I don't want to defer to Tom to put him on the spot, but we have agreed the pricing structure for next year. I don't think it's for me to announce that on this forum, but it'll come out from Reece in a couple of days, and they'll be on sale next week. In terms of refunds, we've got a strategy. We've looked at a number of options. We've also looked at what other clubs have done. I don't know whether you want to talk a little bit about that, Becky, or shall we leave that for another day? But let's put it this way: by early next week, when we announce, we'll also let you have our strategy for refunds. And we'll be conscious that we don't want to be giving out cash, but we will give credit, and there will be perhaps vouchers to the shop and things of that nature. Various clubs have done all sorts of things, including, some people have just donated the money to the academy in some way. But I'm not suggesting that's what we'll do, but we will be fair, whatever we do and agree upon, which Tom can announce. It will be fair. And we hope that the pricing, and I think this is probably why Scott texted you today, we've kept it at a level that we think meets the needs of the majority of fans. It's a lower level than some other clubs in the National League, and we hope it finds favour. We just desperately want to create an atmosphere at Root Ball, and therefore we hope the pricing structure helps.
I think none of us are expecting you to give it away. We understand the conditions we're in, etc. But I think most people just want to see some fairness, and if you've got that in your strategy, then certainly the fans will be fine.
Yeah, and I think keeping it at a lower level to attract people to come back is really, really helpful. We think we're building a team that's really good. I think the due diligence that the three of them have been doing is getting really underneath people's characters, and I think I feel really good about it, actually. And there's been rumours in the Echo. Most of them are true, which is unusual in itself, isn't it? So if you can believe what they're saying, then you'll understand the people that we're signing, which is good.
Okay, Thank you. Kit, any news on Kit?
Yeah, there's news. There's news on Kit. I don't think, again, this is the forum, because I know that Reece is going to announce that.
Okay.
But
Okay, well, don't worry about that. Normally, the launch is Meet the Blues Day, and that was going to be my next point. Will there be a Meet the Blues Day this year, or are we not?
there's no reason why not.
Okay, good.
I know that we have that in mind still, so yes, we will do.
Do we have a date? Do you know?
Do we have a date, Tom?
Not at present, no.
Okay.
We'll circulate that next week as well. So
to some degree, it'll be dependent on being unlocked, won't it?
Yeah, yeah. It will. I think there's going to be an announcement regarding the 21st of June date, and if everything's going to be available to open up, but we'll keep that under review. But we can still have a date in the diary for that. But I think next week is this week's a bit of an orientation week and getting to know everybody week, and then we can start making announcements and so on next week.
Yeah, that's fine.
It's been the end of July, hasn't it? So there's no reason why that shouldn't continue. I think the end of July is probably a key date for Meet the Blues Day, and we'll make it a great day.
Okay. Any questions from anyone before I witter on?
I would just say, Paul, on Meet the Blues Day, I know this. I think it's a real opportunity for the club to re-energise and re-engage the fans. So I think it's important that a lot of work is put into this, and it's important, I think, that you involve the supporters and involve the supporter groups in terms of what is felt is sort of a good sort of run for the day.
I think, Leslie, you're absolutely right. I think this is, these are the sort of things that will come out from these regular meetings, things that we can look to you for ideas and thoughts that, representative of the supporter base and beyond. So what I propose, and Tom can be the liaison for this, but is to put it to Reece. So we'll come up with some views and express those to the supporter groups, and then you can let us have your thoughts and feelings and see what we can do to make it a special day. Because there has been some obviously a disconnect. It's been a shocking year, and we've got to make it up to you and get things back on track with this football club. So absolutely, we would welcome your ideas and thoughts. And the Blues Day is a great day to meet the new players and management. I won't come. I'm fed up having cans of beer thrown at me. But in reality, we'll make provision for, in case it rains, we'll put a marquee up or something. But we'll do what we can and make it a special day at the training ground.
Good.
One of the things that really was a bit of a benefit from all of this is being able to watch iFollow. Now, of course, that's also a negative in many people's eyes, but not for everyone. So I specifically got this question from several sources, but the one I liked best was from two ex-committee, trust committee people who moved to France. So they're not going to be going to any games anytime soon. And they had iFollow tickets and watched every game last season. It was great for them. And I know iFollow doesn't exist in the National League unless you're going to tell me they're looking at doing something. Is there a plan or anything that can be done?
I had the same conversation with Reece before Tom joined. There isn't, you're right, iFollow in the National League. Although it would be good for those fans abroad, to be perfectly blunt with you, we'd prefer people to come to the ground and improve the atmosphere and help the team win.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I understand. But if you look at away games in particular, with the probably restriction on travelling fans, we might bust our limit several times, during the season, and iFollow would be second best, clearly.
Yeah, I mean, I've got a lot of friends that watch on iFollow, and they're disappointed that won't be available to them either. But Tom, you can look at what the alternative might be. Certainly for away games would be really good.
Ron, sorry, Tom. Ron, you had access to the games way before iFollow started, didn't you?
I did, yeah.
As did all directors, I think. I'm not sure what the rules were, but does the same thing exist in the National League? is it just a matter of monetising the you know, the?
No, I don't think it does exist in the National League. That was supposed to be a privilege to initially chairman, then I think they extended it to chief executive. There was only 2 slots for it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was but I think the coverage is far better. I mean, last year it's I know it was very good.
Sorry, Tom, I interrupted you there.
Yeah, no, I was just going to say with the overseas streaming rights for the National League, it's different. So I've had an initial conversation with Reece on that, and we need to do a bit of research to see what we can do. But for sure, the overseas rights are different to the way it works with the league.
Because I mean, Durham run their own feed, don't they? Because they were trying to charge us to use it last year, and but everybody refused because they banned Chris.
Well, that's right. Yeah.
So I mean, obviously there's at least one team in the National League that do stream their matches.
Yeah, I think that's right. You can, streaming is available. But I was just talking specifically about overseas streaming.
Right.
Okay, so there might possibly be a yes for us, but unlikely to be.
It's on the list. It's on the list of along with yeah.
That's right. Well, the thing is, even if we don't get the answers, you'll get a nice long action list, so that's good. Chase you at the next one.
Paul, I don't know whether you're meant to be chairing this or whether I am, but there's 3 hands up. I'd like to understand what Dan, Richard, and Liam have to say. So if I can start with Dan, and then
sure.
with Richard.
Yeah, sure. It was just going back to Meet the Blues Day, really, and I think it was Meet the Blues Day has always been historically, from my point of view, the last weekend before the season begins.
Yeah.
As I understand, the key dates for the National League are going to be mid-August. Would we keep the tradition of keeping it at the end of July? Would that be at the end of, or in mid-August?
Well, I guess if the majority of people want to see it a weekend before we kick off, then we'll do that. I think this is a great forum to share those ideas because we can get everyone's views, and if the majority would prefer that, then we'll keep it as the week before we kick off. I think that's a good idea. In truth, I think it gets the momentum going, and people start looking forward to the season kicking off in earnest. And it was if it was several weeks before, say 3 weeks before, then of course that'd be in the middle of preparation, and that would probably be disruptive for us. So the week before will probably be more helpful. Richard?
Well, the question I've been asked by quite a few people. It was mentioned about using the North Bank for home fans, obviously because the acoustics are quite good there, and also obviously a lot of people have got a sentimental attachment. Obviously, a lot of Rebecca's mentioned as well, and obviously I vaguely remember it many moons ago. Is that still likely to happen?
Because you've been a fan for a long time, this probably periodically comes up for. I think there's probably more opportunity in the National League to open up the North Bank because we'll have few away fans. There's always security issues with the police. This first arose about a fortnight ago, and I put it to Patrick and asked him to share it with the police. And I suspect they might discourage it, but I think actually it is possible. But I wouldn't want people to get too used to the idea because we don't want the National League more than a year. I have to tell you that we really are doing our best to make sure we come out in 1 year. I know it's unusual, but with the team have looked. This is the team of management have looked at a number of games, both in live and also on video. And they don't see the major difference that everyone's been talking about in terms of the football strategy. The footballers may be less skilled in some respects, not as good on the ball, but everyone talks about more direct play, stronger, maybe less fit. I think it's just a tone down. I think, in the pyramid, you go from as far as we're concerned, say the Championship to League One to League Two, it's a lesser standard. I think probably it's just another slightly less standard in the National League, but not too dissimilar in terms of what they try to play. I know that Phil was at the Hartlepool game over the weekend, and between them, they've seen a number of games, and that's their consensus. But we are building a team to compete from the off.
But as far as the stand's concerned, is that obviously it is physically doable, but obviously it's just more a case of you're getting opposition, or
no, it's about keeping segregation between the fans. So away fans are coming one end, and our home fans are coming from the other end. It is possible, but the last time we looked at it, that necessitated a different fire escape from the back, and we looked at the cost of that. I think it's more feasible because of the limited number of away fans that we're likely to attract in the next season. But let Patrick get underneath it, and the next forum, Tom, can you make sure that Patrick's on the call so he can express what he's discovered and what our decision is? And if it's a negative, we'll tell you the reasons why. If it's a positive, we'll tell you how we're going to operate it. And I have no views on it. Look, we always want to keep the supporters happy. That's what we're all in the same club together. And if we can open up the North Bank because there's enough demand for it, then that's great. That's what we'll do.
This sort of might be sort of something it could perhaps swap with, say, like where the Blue Voice are at the moment. It might be an option, and therefore you can have the segregation between the West Stand and the northwest corner.
Yeah, I get what you're saying, and I can remember. Do you remember when we played Yeovil one time? We had 11,700 right at the end of the season. It was a brilliant atmosphere, but the segregation was just the goal mouth. And so the fans wrapped around. I think they probably had 500 or 600, and it was a great game. But that was because the police didn't consider there was any difficulties arising between Southend and Yeovil fans. I mean, if it had been Millwall or somebody else, maybe sort of even Colchester or Leyton Orient, it might have been different. So they assess it. The risk assessment that they undertake will determine whether we can operate from the North Stand. But I agree the acoustics are better. Everyone says that. But if there was only a smattering of people who want to go in there, then we wouldn't want to spread our fans around 4 stands when we might have more of an impact over 3. So they're the sort of things, and I think we don't know how many season tickets, how popular they'll be, what the World Cup will be like, and we can't really assess what can't gauge what the average attendance will be. So it's but everything will become clear over the next month or 6 weeks, I suspect. But anyway, the answer is that if we can open up North Stand safely with the police approval, then we would do it, and we'll get Patrick to give his opinion on that when on the next forum.
And if people have already got a season ticket elsewhere, they'll be able to transfer it.
Yeah, I'm sure we can manage that. That's not a problem. We never want to put impediments there. We just try and be helpful. So bear with us. Liam?
First of all, Ron, I hope that you're feeling better and that your recovery from COVID and your neck and your arteries, I hope that's going. That might have all been covered at the beginning, but I hope you're feeling a bit better. Welcome, Tom. I think you a great appointment. I'm really pleased with your CV and your experience and your passion for the club. So I think that it was really good news to have you join the club. I was very pleased to see the club moving in the right direction for what felt like the first time in a long time over the last 2 weeks. So that said, with pleasantries out of the way, I'd like to talk about things that are also traditional at the end of July, and one of those is the club's accounts, which are still not filed I believe on this call, we had a much larger, more cumbersome call in what I think was March that Patrick was on as well. And he said that they would be filed in April. It is now June, and according to Companies House, they're still not filed. So I'd like to know why that hasn't been the case. I don't really feel like COVID is an excuse, because I feel like the accounts is an office-based job and most office people have been working from home. So I'd be interested to know why the accounts haven't been filed. And I'd be interested to know when the accounts are going to be filed. This is, we're talking about the financial year ending 2019. And I hope that's a reasonably simple question, because another thing that came up in what we were talking about was the football club strategy. So what I'd like to know is your goal is to get Southend United out of the National League at the first time of asking. I think that's ambitious, but I think you don't get anywhere without being ambitious. So I think that's good. That's what we all want to hear, because that's what we all want. But what I want to know is, obviously, Ricky now is the director of football and Phil on the call. But I would like to know what the footballing strategy is, how we're going to achieve promotion from the National League at the first time of asking, and how the non-footballing areas, so how you, Ron and Tom are going to support the players and the playing staff in achieving a high enough finish in the table to gain promotion.
Okay, only one question there then.
Long-winded. I do like the sound of my own voice.
No, not at all. Thank you for your interest in my artery. Still a hole in it, but it may not occlude is the word, but block off until the end of this calendar year. I have scans every probably 6 weeks. My next scan is in July. But overall, it's things are a lot better. I won't know when it's blocked off. My vulnerable period actually was in the month of January, certainly, probably early February. But as Ricky once said to me, I was in a perfect storm. And that's probably about right, really. Throughout the January window didn't help. But anyway, a lot better, thank you. You're right about Tom's CV. I think he's perfectly placed to bring some additional structure to the club, so I think that's going to work. In terms of football strategy, I would like to have Ricky on the call at least, if not Phil. But all I can say is that our investment into the team, as the matters stand, should stand us in good stead if investment converts to ability, but it doesn't always. And that's why I played so much attention on the characters that we've assembled, including the new signings. I think they're strong people. But I think
sounds like the next call should have Phil and Ricky on it then.
Yeah, and I think that's what comes out of the forums, isn't it? That we
yeah. 3 weeks on, we'll have some signings, and there'll be loads of things that have moved on. So it'd be really good to do that.
Yeah, I'm very happy that would be the case. I'm not expecting, without the season is barely finished, so I'm not expecting to have an answer of like a full list of targets from the chairman and the chief executive. So, but to know that is in hand, and we might be able to ask Ricky and Phil on the next call, that would be good.
I could, Liam, tell you that, but I'm not going to. Negotiations. Securing footballers is always a difficult thing. I think we've done very well so far this year, but we were let down by one footballer who should have been at the training ground yesterday to thrash out terms with he's been all three, and his agent, but he didn't turn up. So that was a bit disappointment. But generally speaking, I think we've done well. But the next forum we'll have those Phil and Ricky on the call. I don't intend to be on every call. I think it's good for Tom to take control of that, but to have other people within the club, including people from commercial or even the ticket office, to give a view in the background of what's going on. Coming on from time to time will be useful. So the next call, I will not be on.
Just do 3 weeks. 3 weeks from today.
3 weeks.
Yeah.
So we'll do it every 3 weeks, and we'll recycle some of the people you've seen before, but introduce new ones too. But there'll be some consistent people, which will always be Tom.
Do we think the
The
accounts might
accounts
be
question.
submitted within the next 3 weeks?
Yeah, I do actually. So the accounts, I was told that they would be done by the end of May. So I'm disappointed that they haven't been done. They need my signature. I haven't seen a draft yet. I know that Patrick, I'm disappointed that I should have put him on the call and asked him before, but I didn't. So my apology for that. But we can pick up. By the time we get 3 weeks gone by, I'm very confident the accounts will be filed with the Companies House.
I'm marginally confused because he was on the last call and he blamed the protest for the reason for the delay.
Yeah,
a long time ago.
It's not just a protest. He said there were.
Well, he did. He was very specific about it. If he didn't have to spend so long worrying about the protest, he'd have the accounts out. He actually said that.
Well, I don't know why he would worry about the protest. They're not protesting against him, are they?
They called it a distraction.
Yeah, well, I think it is, because health and safety is one of his responsibilities. So
Yeah, sure.
That's what he was saying, but I don't see why it would take up much time. I think one of the reasons it's taken longer because it is remote, and I accept that. We don't put reasons why there's been a delay down to everything down to COVID. But ordinarily, the auditors would send 2 or 3 people in. They would be here for a week or two, checking things. Whereas what's happening now, they're asking questions. Patrick's having to, and his staff having to find what they're looking for, and send it to them. So it's not quite as straightforward as it was. But having said that, there's no reason why the account shouldn't be filed, and there's no reason why anyone wouldn't want to be filed. To the contrary, we want them completed and up to date.
Was that all your questions, Liam? I think it was, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, very happy. Thank you.
We've got some other guys who've not asked anything. Anybody got anything else? Jim, anything from the XRs? You're on mute, Jim.
Spacebar wasn't working. No XR's question at this point.
Okay.
I'm sure we will have.
Okay.
Why don't I just open up the forum? Perhaps Tom can give a view.
Yeah.
On. I know it's always difficult to get out of National League, and people think it's going to be a hard task, and it's going to be a cup final for all those. But I don't buy into that. I don't think it's any different from us, playing Sunderland as we were in League One. We never looked at it as a special game. It's just another game that you need to win, and I think that would be no different. I don't want to put words in Tom's mouth, but he thought that we would make more than a fist of it. Tom, tell us what you're thinking.
So, well, I think we're as best placed as we can be. I mean, obviously Ricky and Phil, who I've met on several occasions, we talked the strategy, and I think Ron's right. We should probably wait for them to be on the call. For me, it's about the complete reset and getting ready for the fight, and it's letting the negativity go about the disappointing season that we've had. There's some feedback there. Yeah, and just concentrating on the future now. And I think it's, I'm just getting a bit of feedback on that. I don't know if someone's.
It's okay.
That's all right. At least we can hear you now.
Okay, perfect. So yeah, so we're putting the new structure in place. We're raising standards, frankly. I know Phil's doing that, and Ricky, and just getting everybody who's a little deflated to have a bounce in their step. I think in terms of next season, Ron's right. There has been talk about we're going to be everybody's cup final. Everybody's going to want to take Phil Brown's scalp, etc. But I think we need to humbly get on with our business, quietly winning, and I want Roots Hall to be bouncing like it did when I used to come every single week and Ricky Otto, Stan Collymore, Brett Angel, Jason, all of those guys. As I say, but this, Ron said, there's some really good people here, and I think that we'll just quietly get on with our business. But I'm, quietly optimistic. In fact, more than that, I think we'll make a really good fist of it.
I think one of the things why we feel fairly confident is because we all saw the difference that Phil made during the 6 games he was in charge. The same group of players had more energy, and I think were more excited about what they could prove, and also looking to their future. Whereas I think there was a level, whatever reason, of complacency that set in during the course of the season. That winning mentality wasn't there, and I think he set the bar higher, and that reset that some referred to is precisely how we view the disastrous last couple of years. That there's an opportunity to reset and get this club back where it should be.
So sorry, just interject there if you don't mind. So I'll ask both of you, where do you think Southend United should be? Where do you see Southend United, and what would be overachieving?
Okay, we can both, we have, look, Tom and I haven't spoken a great deal, spoke obviously during the interview processes and on Tuesday, but I've left him alone, so I don't know what he's going to say. I think that we are a upper League One club, where generally speaking, I think the demographics allow us to get into the Championship. We couldn't sustain a position in the Championship from Roots Hall. There wouldn't be enough corporate income to achieve that. But there will be when we move. So I think we border an upper League One club to possibly lower third Championship club. If we were really lucky, maybe we could sustain a position in the Championship in a new stadium. But that's where I see us.
Yeah, no, I'd echo that. It's a League One club all day long, and we should be pushing to the Championship. But I don't think Ron would mind me saying that during the interview process, I said that perhaps a 10-year goal should be for us to play our first game in the Championship in the new stadium. And I think we've just got to have aspirational targets of that type and really kick on. The new stadium will be game changing for us, and we need to make sure we're in the right league for it.
Does that answer your question? You're on mute, Liam.
Yeah, very happy. Yeah, I think you're both about right. I think most people on this call would agree with that. It would be the right ambition is to see us overachieve and then sustain overachievement and then build on that. And I think that you're right. A stadium would go hand in hand.
And Liam, we all know that football success comes a great deal from momentum and confidence. We see it with team after team, don't we? I mentioned Sunderland earlier. I mean, how fed up are Sunderland supporters that another year in League One? And how delighted Morecambe supporters would be in getting into League One. You know, and how miserable Southend supporters are being in National League. But you know, it's a challenge, and we're rising to the challenge, and we've got to make sure it happens. It was Scott Peters who said to me, you know, you've got to understand supporters. They'll follow their club everywhere. And as I said, I would be pretty miserable going into the National League, but actually now I've got my head around it. I'm looking forward to the challenge. A lot of the clubs are local to us by comparison of League Two, but we'll be there to compete and hopefully get back to where we think this club should be.
Tim had a question.
Yeah. More of an observation. I a couple of weeks ago went to watch Maidenhead against Halifax. Ron, you'll enjoy the director's box there. Oldest football ground in the country.
Is it?
My view on it was that it was much more physical. Terry's seen more games than me, you can probably agree. The players were not protected by the standard of the referee. When I asked the spectators around me, they said it was always like that. And I think that would be the biggest shock.
Yeah.
As a former referee that got quite close to that level, I can tell you that the officiating is going to be shocking. And given given Phil's record with bad officials, I anticipate he'll be joining you in the director's box more often than not.
Very good. I think it is more physical. I think that's been said to us many times. They're probably not quite so good on the ball, and I expect that as you go down from the Premiership down the pyramid, the officiating generally is not as good. But it's the same for both sides. So we're not looking for any advantage. We just want to be fair, don't we? We'll win some, lose some. We have to accept that. But getting the club buzzing a game, whatever league we're in, is what this is all about. And I always said, I mean, I know people give the credit, quite rightly so, in some respects, to Stan for getting Tom here, and I'm delighted. But I did say that when I had visibility through to the move, then we would restructure the management, and that's what's happened. The timing is Tom knows this. The timing is perfect, and I think that I quite like the word reset. I think who kicked it off, but anyway, whatever it is, we feel that time is right to make change and a new lease of life for South United Football Club and its fans, because it's been a miserable 3 years, and I'm sorry for that. I've got to go in a couple of minutes.
Yeah,
so
you warned us, Ron, and I think unless anyone objects, I suggest we end the call here, or say goodbyes. Has anyone got anything they just want to?
I've only got one question, and it's more of a logistical question rather than a football question. Aside to this meeting, which are all relatively new, we have another liaison group, which is an informal thing that generally meets with Reece and the police liaison office on a quarterly basis, shall we say, in the Shrimpers Bar on a Monday night. Is that still going to be going forward? I asked primarily because the police liaison officer asked me to raise it. So is that still going to be a thing, or will we include Keith maybe into these calls?
Interesting one.
Well, I mean, and the calls is a good question. Do we always want this to be a call, or do we want to meet again physically?
I think if you're going to circulate this to the majority, which I think is a good thing, then having it on a Zoom is a good idea. I don't think it's quite so easy to record it if it's live. I'm relaxed about it, and I've been led by you. But I think that it's good to open up the forum to all our fan base, so they all get to understand and what we're trying to do. We're not always going to achieve our objective, but they'll know that we're doing our best always. And I think that recording it and getting out on Zoom or Teams, whatever we do, is the best idea. We've taken away some good ideas, I think, from this. We know who to have on the next call, and over the next few weeks and couple of months leading up to kick-off again, I think you'll see change, and I think you'll see change for the better. So the only change I'm going to make is go off the call now. That's probably for the better as well. So
thank you.
Thanks for your time.
Thank you. Cheers.
Soon. Okay. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Ron. So Kerry, we'll just add Dave. It's Dave, isn't it?
No.
Keith. Sorry. We'll add Keith to the distribution list, shall we? And then he can join if he wants to. I think because also we don't have disabled representation.
No.
Well, we lost Ron, as you know.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so lots to rework that.
We also have the Southend Pride group, which haven't actually ever attended a meeting.
No.
That was mentioned earlier. Yeah.
We do know.
Yeah, just before you came on, Kerry, I introduced the concept of what we were, because this is really the team from the supporters group, but grown because of a few other groups, but several are missing. And so.
Yeah, I agree. I think if we add Keith in, I think that's a really good idea, because Keith is the police liaison. He's a member of the group, and I think he does add value in other areas anyway. So, and it's good that he knows what's actually going on, because then, you know, for example, if we're talking about having games in the North Bank, well, then he's here to, from a police perspective, hopefully try and fight our corner. So I think it's a good idea.
I think it would be pointless having 2 separate meetings. So yeah, definitely invite Keith along to this one. Personally, I would much prefer it in person, even if it's like we could have like a laptop stuck at the end of the table if anyone else does want to join or anything. But if we do have that option of meeting in person, I would much prefer that. Simply because even though tomorrow is actually my last day of work ever. But still, I've basically spent the last year and a half sitting in a chair in front of a computer, and I'm sick to death of it. I want to get out and meet people.
I don't like people, so I'm quite happy doing Zoom.
So the key is trying to find a way of morphing both, and maybe,
I'm sure we can work that out.
Is that a conversation maybe you and I want, Paul, just to make sure we've got the right people in?
Yeah.
Work out the logistics and maybe a small constitution that works with it, because we don't want we don't want 75 members of a supporters organisation we don't know yet rolling in. Just to make sure we've got named people in, and I think I don't mind meeting people in person. I think a bit of a mix and match would be the approach.
Yeah, I think so, Kerry.
I mean, I'm here 6 o'clock because I finish work. I'd have struggled to get into the Shrimpers Club at 6 o'clock. Even though
that's true. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. I think the recording idea is very good, but I would have a 150-mile round journey. So
yeah. So and we had the same when we had Ron, that he couldn't come to meetings, and we were trying to find a way of doing it. So, you know, COVID has given us the solution is that if we can go in and we can get some kind of signal in the Shrimpers bar, and we go in with a laptop, there is no reason why Jim from Maidenhead would be excluded from that meeting. You just come in on a Zoom call, or if you've had a long day at work and you ain't going to physically get there, you're not excluded from the meeting. So I think a bit of a mix and match works.
Yeah.
Well, good luck with getting a signal in the Shrimpers bar.
Yeah, I was thinking that.
We've tried and failed miserably. The trust even tried to, with our own system in there, and it's pants, to be quite honest.
Can we run it off a hotspot on a telephone?
Well, no, but you can't get a telephone signal in there either.
Yeah, I've never got a phone signal in there.
One of the networks is all right.
Or maybe
it's okay, it's just not the other one.
Maybe we don't have it in the Shrimpers bar then. Maybe we see if we can go upstairs where we met Ron last time and use one of the rooms that does actually have that facility.
Yeah.
I'm sure the CEO will be agreeable to that.
Yeah, no, I think the room downstairs will be fine, but there's a Wi-Fi connection in there, so that should work fine.
Good stuff.
And then we can record and everyone can see what we're talking about, and if people, want to get involved with one of the supporters groups, then that's also a better thing, because the more the merrier.
Yeah, 100%.
I would say we could use my old office at Roots Hall, but I think it's now used as a store cupboard, because it was been decided it's far too grim to allow anyone to actually work from there. That was a few years ago, though. So,
Tom, any final thoughts?
No, I was just going to say thanks so much for the warm welcome. I'm 3 days in. I've been busy meeting people, and I already have a pretty good feel for some easy wins. I'll give you a better update in 3 weeks' time as to what I've been up to, and I think it's really useful to get the feedback that you've given on the various bits and pieces. So I'll put that on my lots of those things on my to-do list.
Thank you. Okay, shall we call it there, chaps?
Yep.